everyone, thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar brought to you by UK University Search. Today is the last of our Results Day webinar series, which is a series of 3 webinars taking place every day at 12 leading up to Results Day tomorrow to ensure you have the most up-to-date information from universities and give you the chance to ask any questions you have and receive a response from university experts. Today we're going to be talking about clearing, adjustment and deferrals. Last year, over 70,000 students secured their place at university through clearing, and each student has a slightly different reason for applying through clearing. Whilst you might think that you'll only need to use clearing if your grades aren't good enough to get into your first or insurance choice university, there's actually a whole host of reasons for applying through clearing, such as if you've changed your mind about your course or your university. Perhaps you just want to slightly adjust what you're studying, you want to study closer to home or maybe further away from home, or you haven't even applied for a place at university yet, so you want to get started for the first time. We're going to be talking to 5 different universities today about clearing and how to secure a place in an increasingly competitive clearing environment, as well as discussing how to go through adjustment if you exceed the requirements for your first choice, and how to defer if you've decided uni just isn't for you this year. First up, we'll be speaking to Ruth Boyce from the University of Winchester about what exactly clearing is and why you might need to use it. Then we'll be talking to Andy from City, University of London, about how clearing will work a little bit differently this year. Then we'll talk to Ruth Wharton from the University of Portsmouth, who'll be giving you her top tips for how to secure a place through clearing. Then we'll be talking to Donovan from the University of Roehampton, who'll be discussing how to apply through clearing if you don't already have a university place, so if you're waiting for your results to apply for the first time. And we'll finish up with Elliot from the University of Leicester, who'll be talking to you about how to use adjustment and how to defer your place if you wish to. As always, we are here to answer your questions and provide you with as much advice and support as we can. So please send us through any questions you have throughout the webinar, and we'll do our best to answer these for you. If you're watching on Zoom, click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit a question, and one of the panelists will get a question back to you on there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can submit a question in the live chat on the right-hand side, and one of our representatives will pass this over to us. We'll choose a selection of questions from Zoom and from YouTube to answer live at the end of the session, so make sure to stick around for that. Okay, we've got lots of great content to discuss today, so let's get started. I'm going to pass you over to Ruth Boyce from the University of Winchester.
Brilliant, good afternoon. Just grab my presentation to share for you and then we will be able to have a little look. So I'm going to spend a bit of time this morning just talking about what clearing is and why you might need to use it. Oops. There we go, fantastic. Okay, and kind of the reasons why you might be looking at needing to use it as we go through tomorrow and kind of going forward from Results Day tomorrow. So for quite a lot of people, it might be that you get your results, and what I would say every year is that universities are pretty good on Results Day. We know what that looks like. It's kind of stressful whether you've sat exams or you've got your sort of calculated grades that are coming this year. So it might be that you've actually done better than you thought, and therefore you want to go for a slightly different university. Some students will use adjustment for this, where they've got higher grades, which is sort of effectively just a slightly different version of clearing if you've got better results, or if you've not met your conditional offer and therefore you've not been able to accept your confirmed place in that respect, then it might be that where you're registered as unsuccessful, clearing will open for you as an option via the UCAS website. It might be sometimes students will find that they have not entered clearing and their university has offered them a place on an alternative course, and I'll explain what that might look like as I go slightly further forward. What I would say as well is actually it's just a really great opportunity. So we have lots of students who will use clearing because actually they have maybe adjusted depending on how well they've done in certain subjects, perhaps if they're taking A-levels, or where they've maybe had a change of heart about what they want to do. What I would say is available, I know for us on YouTube, and there's loads of support certainly on the UCAS website as well. People will also use clearing if they've not applied for university at all. So it might be that they've maybe had, certainly this year, perhaps had an apprenticeship planned, or were thinking of taking a gap year, and maybe now have changed their mind. So if you're in that kind of group at the moment, it might be that you actually are applying for the first time for university. So there's loads of information on UCAS about how to do that. And what I would say is if you're somebody who hasn't applied at all, even going through clearing, you still have to complete the UCAS application from most universities. So have a look, and you can actually kind of get this started today, before tomorrow if you want to make sure that your application is in place if you're thinking of applying through clearing at this stage. Okay, when you might not use clearing is kind of for some of these reasons. So actually, if you want to change your university, like I've mentioned, you might use something like adjustment instead, and that will give you the option of kind of trading up perhaps to a university with higher entry grades. If you just want to change your course, maybe you had signed up to do English and you've now decided you want to do English and history, but you still really want to go to the same university, you don't necessarily have to use clearing. You can contact that university directly and see if they can amend or change the course that you'll be studying with them. The process for that differs. Most universities might ask you to send a confirmation email in to their admissions team to confirm you want to make that change. And it will obviously depend on what the entry grades are. So if you're moving from a course that perhaps wanted, say, an A and 2 Bs, and the new course you want to move to needs 2 As and a B, but you've not achieved that, they won't guarantee that course move. So it's important to look at that. You can gain all the entry criteria information on the university's websites. But if you just want to change your course, I'd suggest contacting the university you're holding a place with, if that's where you still want to go. If you're thinking of completely changing your university and you've decided you want to do the same course but go somewhere completely different, that's when you again can release yourself into clearing if that's what you want to do. Okay. If you've perhaps had a change of plan, and I know some of the speakers as we go through will mention this a little bit later down the line, but if you've possibly changed your mind, you've decided you want to defer your place, or maybe you applied as a deferred applicant and now want to go this year, again, you can contact the universities directly. So you might not use clearing in the form that it's known for at that stage. Okay, so there's 2 different ways you can use clearing. This year we've got something called Clearing Plus. And what that means is that when you go and log into Track, it will come up and show you your status, whether or not you have a confirmed place. And what I mentioned earlier is that universities this year are quite conscious of the calculated grades. So it might be you've maybe not quite got what you needed, but your university has offered you an alternative course, maybe with a slightly different tariff entry. So it's really important when you log into Track tomorrow to make sure that you check your status and check that it's for exactly the course you want it for. So for example, I know we run some foundation years. It might be that you applied for history, you've maybe not met the criteria, and we might make you a place for, say, history with a foundation year. It's important to check, because if you're not happy with that offer a university's made you, then again, you can self-release into clearing if that's what you want to do. So check your status and check what the universities have offered in terms of course, that it fits with what you think you applied for or wanted to study. What you'll see there is there's a My Matches section, and with Clearing Plus, it will show you the matches that you have. What I would say is that often is related to what you previously applied for. So if you applied for business, the matches it will provide are based on business courses that you might be looking at. If you applied for business as a degree way back last October, you've had a change of heart and now would like to study, art history, then it might be that those matches don't necessarily fit straight away. So it's important to bear that in mind if you've had quite a significant change in subject that you're wanting to study. Okay, so you can see on here, this is how your matches might appear, and you can click that you're interested and let the universities know that you want to get in touch with them. You'll notice some universities have logos, others don't. That's just kind of a UCAS thing. It's just what the universities have paid for. So don't worry about that so much. What you need to be looking at is clicking on the interested section. You can also see all clearing vacancies if you want to, and this is kind of how people would have searched in previous years. So you can go through, make sure you've got it in search clearing, and you can do that now if you want to have a look today and see what courses are available. And it will come up with the courses that have still got places. So this does change regularly, so it's important again to check back and see whether the course you're interested in is available. Also, if you've got a university in mind, go directly to their website, and it might be that actually that's the easiest way. If you know a particular university, so you've changed your mind and want to maybe study a bit closer to home, or you've got a university that you'd maybe ruled out when you initially applied, go back and look directly at their website for the most up-to-date information. So once you kind of have decided perhaps clearing might be for you, you can actually then start contacting universities. You can collect as many verbal offers as you like tomorrow morning, but you can't actually do anything until 3 p.m. So you have a little bit of time to have a look round, see what's there, and it might be that you'd thought about changing your mind and you can't find anything else you like, or actually you think you've then got quite a good offer from the university that have made you maybe a different course offer. So it might be you actually choose not to enter clearing at that stage when you've had a little shop round and see what's available. What I would say is courses do change all the time, and for some certainly in demand courses, they may be there for quite a short space of time. Universities will make you a verbal offer. They'll sometimes send you an email with your offer in, but that doesn't last forever. They will all have a deadline. So it's important that while you might have chosen to join clearing straight away, it's important to check that information that they give you. And it might be actually you end up not accepting a clearing place, dependent on kind of what you choose to do as you go further forward. But lots of students use it every year. They self-release into clearing, and lots of students are really successful when they apply. The data has shown as well that we often find lots of students will maybe go back to one of the 5 original universities that they selected as one of the ones that they go back to. And again, if you've already done that research, you can have a look around today or look directly at the university website to see how you would contact them. But I know people going forward are going to spend a bit more time talking about that. So just in preparation for tomorrow, like I've mentioned, you can do some research. The courses are already there, and you can have a think about whether you might be someone who wants to get started. I'm always amazed by the amount of information people's mobile phones hold. But if you're on the phone to a university and you need your UCAS number, that can be really tricky. So certainly in preparation, if you think you might be using clearing, a pen and paper is really useful. Write down all your details so you've got everything, just so you know what you're up to. And having all that personal information kind of written down as opposed to on the mobile phone you're speaking on can make things much easier for you. And again, just because clearing happens, it starts tomorrow, it goes on for a little while, you still have time to decide. So you've got some offers, you can have a think about accommodation, still do the virtual tours. I know some universities have got campus tours going on in kind of COVID safe ways. So it might be that there's still a range of things for you to think about, even though you've maybe entered clearing and got yourself into that kind of pot. Again, you can still change your mind and opt out, and it lasts for a little while. So you don't have to, although you might have offers tomorrow and it feels a bit stressful, you don't have to do all of that tomorrow. Okay, one thing I know some students are concerned with at the moment, universities have obviously been explaining how they're going to be teaching this year. And it might be that based on the information you've had from your current university, you want to do something slightly different. You maybe want to look at courses that are online or offering a slightly different offer in that respect. So it might be that you want to check and enter yourself into clearing because of the way you're maybe going to be taught this year. So again, have a little check of that and make sure you understand what that means. So finally, I'm available for any questions as we go further forward. And there's obviously loads of different ways you can contact universities to make sure that if you're entering yourself into clearing, you kind of know what that will look like. Okay, fantastic. I'll pass back to you, Megan.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Next up, we're going to be talking to Andy from City University of London. Now, as some of you would have guessed, clearing is going to be a little bit different this year. Andy's going to be talking you through what City's doing, especially because I know they've got something very special planned this year. So I'll pass over to Andy.
Thank you very much, Megan, and thank you, Ruth, for your brilliant introduction to clearing as well. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Andy, and yes, I work at City University of London. I'm going to go a bit old school today and not use any slides. The main reason being is that my topic is how clearing will work differently this year. And that's changed about 5 times in the last 24 hours. So to play it safe, I'm going to talk you through some of the big changes that have happened. Or to rephrase that title, how does a global pandemic affect one of the busiest days in the university calendar? So to start off, I want to run through some of the things that haven't changed. And there's a lot that is still the same. So when you wake up Thursday morning, in order to find out if you have your university place, you're still going to log on to UCAS Track, just like everybody else would have last year and the year before that as well. The only change is it's 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. UK time, you'll be able to see tomorrow your university decisions, whether you've received a place and whether that's all confirmed or not, or whether you will go down the clearing route. The UCAS Track is still the place to go. UCAS Track will still be the system you'll use as well when you're confirming your clearing places if you do go through clearing. And also, you'll still need to contact universities. If you go through the clearing route and you're looking to secure a place through clearing, you'll still need to get in contact with universities directly. So those things will all be exactly the same, and they won't have changed in terms of the fundamentals. The way you go about doing that has changed quite significantly. And the difficulty is here that there's not a one-size-fits-all again. That's why I didn't want to put some slides up telling you exactly how it's going to be all across the country, because we're all going to do something different. And just with this group of 5 universities here, I'm sure we've all got slightly different approaches to what we're all doing. So it'll be interesting to hear what everybody else is doing. The first thing with contacting universities to stress is where we actually are. So I'm sat in my living room at the moment in North London. I can see some people are sat on campus just by being able to see all of their different screens here. And some people will be in lots of different locations. And that means that it's going to be slightly different in terms of how we work. Elliot will be speaking to you at the end, actually. I've borrowed one of his polls, I'm sure you won't mind, where we surveyed 38 different universities. And of those 38, 11 said they were doing clearing on campus, so running everything from their usual university spots. 11 were running them completely from home, and 16 were doing a mixture of some staff on campus, some at home. Now that creates different challenges for us all, and I'm sure I don't want to bore you with all the back end work we've all been doing to get ourselves prepared. But what it means for you as a student is that the way you're going to interact with us will be slightly different and will be different for every university. Traditionally, you just pick up the phone to whichever university it is, give us a call, and we'll be able to talk you through it. At City, for example, we've had 120 students for the last 2 years that I've been involved in the operation. This year, we've got none. So we've had to completely change the way that we work. And in terms of how you engage with universities, that is going to be, again, different from everyone. Some people will still have calls, some people won't. In terms of who it is as well you'll be speaking to, as I mentioned, we don't have all of our student ambassadors on hand this year. Lots of them have gone back to their home countries. So we're using lots of staff from across the university. In terms of what we can then handle, we've had to tweak the way that we do and do things. In terms of you finding out what's actually in clearing, again, it's pretty much the same as every other year. UCAS will have a comprehensive list of all the courses in clearing, and university websites will be updated with clearing vacancies as well. So you can find those all on there with the requirements that you will need to get access to those courses. So I've come up with a few different ways of contacting people. There's the traditional hotline. So getting a number, calling up the university, speaking to a member of staff who can process your application. As I can see your speakers, by a quick show of hands, who has got a clearing phone number this year? Yeah, so I've got some waves. So yeah, people do have a clearing phone number for this year. For City, for example, we don't have a phone number. As I mentioned, I'm going to be sat here at 7:30 tomorrow morning without my desk phone, as will all of my colleagues. So people are working slightly different ways. One thing we're going to be doing at City is we have an automated online form. So everyone will need to go to our website. So it's city.ac.uk/clearing. And from there, you'll be able to submit an application online, and you should get a decision online as well. The whole process will be automated. Now, that's a big change, because if you ring up Roehampton, Portsmouth or Leicester, you'll be speaking to a human being over the phone, whereas we will be slightly differently. So the one thing to make sure is that with the universities you want to go to, you know how best to get in contact with them. And unfortunately, there's not a one-size-fits-all this year. There will also be potentially other ways of engaging, and that's via social media, online chat platforms as well, where students from all over the world can get involved. But I think that's the key thing, is that how clearing is going to be different is that we're all going to do things differently. And that's a big, big change from what used to be a kind of one-size-fits-all solution in the past. One of the other things I was going to mention actually was something Ruth gave a really good overview of Clearing Plus as well. That's a brand new service, as Ruth mentioned, for 2020, and no university's ever used this before, but hopefully it will be a real help for you. What it means is that, as Ruth mentioned, that you will have a selection of universities that hopefully you can get a place at kind of offered up to you. And UCAS will do some of that legwork for you. It will give you suggestions of universities that match your level of qualification, and will hopefully be able to put you in touch with them. And again, it's up to universities what they then do. At City, if you match with us and we think you're an eligible student, you'll get an email from us prompting you to come to our website and fill out our web form. Other universities might give you a phone call, might email you with other information as well. So, as I say, and I'll keep coming back to the same point probably, it's going to be massively different depending on who you engage with over the next few days or so. The process is also quite a long process with clearing, so lots of the attention will be on tomorrow, potentially Friday, but clearing is open for a long time, so you do have the time to look at your results, look at any potential changes, and give yourself a few kind of days to work out what works best for you. That being said, clearing places do fill up, so it's best to look for options that work for you and think give you the best option. So just to wrap up really, I would say kind of top tips from me, sort of 5 things to have a look at. First of all, that not everything has changed. UCAS track is still the best place to go, just as every other year. So if you've got family members, friends who have been through clearing before, or been through the university application process before, they will all know that they logged onto their UCAS track like I did, a certain number of years ago, let's say, and that's where I found out if I had secured my place. The same will be true for you as well. Log on to UCAS track from 8 AM tomorrow morning UK time to find out your decision. As well, there will be flexibility in decision making. As much as we've had to adjust the way we're working, we're also having to adjust the way that we work with you as well. So in terms of our decisions around making you those offers and confirming those places, lots of universities will be really flexible in terms of the grades we're looking for. I'd say also make sure you're aware, again, as I mentioned, that universities will operate totally differently. So everyone in this webinar today will be doing something slightly different, which will be different from what we've done in the past. And look at different ways of getting in touch and do what works for you. So for us, for example, it is that web form. So if you want to try and get a decision online, again, if the City, it'll all be through that process. If you want to start calling people up, there are other universities out there as well. And I'd say absolutely apply in the way that works for you. So whether that's through Clearing Plus and you've got a selection of universities there that match your interests, match your requirements, match what you're looking for, then go for it. Go for the Clearing Plus option. If you're someone who wants to get in touch with the university directly, find out the best way of doing that and go about starting that process. And always remember to come back to UCAS track. So I think that's the key thing I would say, is that this year, when you're looking at things that are going to be different, unfortunately, there I can't tell you exactly what's going to be different, but it's going to be a lot of things. And making sure you check with the universities you're interested in, what they're doing, how they're going to process those applications, and how we can all get you the best result as quickly as you need it. So I'll be around for the rest of the session if you've got any questions, so feel free to ask them. We'll be answering them in the Q&A at the end as well. So thanks, over to you, Megan.
Thank you very much, Andy. Next up, we're going to be talking to our second Ruth, and that's Ruth Walton from the University of Portsmouth. Ruth is going to be talking you through her top tips for securing a place for clearing today.
Hi there. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for that introduction. I'm just going to try and successfully, hopefully, share my screen with you to so you can see my presentation. So bear with me one moment. Let's hope this works. Okay, can I just check? Can you give me a thumbs up, Andy? Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, that's great. So thank you to Andy and Ruth so far for giving a great insight into the whole clearing process and what it all means. It is daunting. It is a bit overwhelming because you've got your results tomorrow. They either weren't what you were expecting, or you've done better than you were expecting, like Ruth was saying. So it's a bit like, right, what happens now? Where do I go now if I haven't got my first choice for whatever reason? So with all of that, I'm going to be talking about some top tips, as mentioned already. So you know what clearing is already from what Ruth said. So it is a way of matching students with the courses at the universities that still have places available. So top tips, if you haven't already applied yet, if you're brand new to the university application, you haven't already applied for your school or college, probably back in the autumn term maybe, you still have time to register with UCAS and complete your application as necessary, and submit your application without any choices, because this will automatically put you into clearing. And also check with the universities that you're thinking of applying to. If you've already done that research, hopefully you can then contact those universities to see if they might accept direct applications perhaps. So maybe have that conversation, or as Andy says, have that online chat through the email or the live chat system. And then in time, obviously you need to, don't forget to apply for student finance as well. So if you've changed your mind though, another top tip is that you can decline your existing offers, and you might want to change your mind to think about doing a completely different course. So decline your existing offers, and that will, the track status will automatically put you into the clearing process. So a top tip is to plan almost this afternoon and this evening, plan for different outcomes. So that tomorrow morning when you get your results, you're not thinking, oh my goodness, this wasn't what I was expecting. What do I need to do? So plan for different outcomes. So you can't predict necessarily what results you're going to get tomorrow. But you can maybe make plans to think about what you're going to do if you've got different results to what you were expecting. So take some time, like I say, this afternoon and this evening, you've still got time to consider a few different outcomes. You've either done better or not as well, maybe as what you were hoping. And then for each outcome, write down possible grades that you might get, and then maybe do a quick calculation, just Google the UCAS calculator, for example, and you'll be able to work out what UCAS points you get from those predicted grades from your current or just previous sixth form studies as well. So top tips. We know that results were published back at the beginning of, vacancies were published at the beginning of July. So really it's time to think about, with your preparation over the next sort of less than 24 hours to go, but think about what is it that you still want to study. If you applied or you were thinking about studying subject X, is that still what you want to do? Are you still motivated and passionate, because you've got to commit the next 3+ years potentially of your life onto this course, into this degree and university lifestyle? So make sure it's still what you want to study. And then maybe with those courses, they match your entry requirements and your potential grades as well. There's no point in doing your research and ringing up those universities or having that live chat conversation with the universities tomorrow if they're completely out of your league. You're thinking roughly you might get 3 Bs. There's no point in looking at universities that want 3 As, for example. And then obviously shortlist those potential courses and potential universities. I know, as Ruth says, lots of students these days put everything on your phone, but equally just have a good old-fashioned pen and paper and literally write down the courses and the universities of what you're thinking of studying and applying for through clearing, and then write down the best way, the quickest way to contact those universities. So if they have do that research this afternoon and this evening, and if they have a hotline, a UCAS hotline number, make a note of that today so that you've got it ready tomorrow morning. Equally, like Andy for City University in London, they aren't having the calls, so what's the best way to contact them? Is it that online form? Could you complete the form today maybe and get a call back tomorrow? Different universities are have different systems. And then get ready for results day. Obviously, get yourself ready, get yourself organized, get yourself to bed early tonight, get a good night's sleep so that you're refreshed, you're recharged, you're ready to face the day tomorrow. And also pop to the shop, get your lunch in advance, get that lunch ready for yourself tomorrow, get yourself a good breakfast, get yourself some treats, make sure you're well hydrated to get yourself ready so that you're there for maybe a couple of hours or however long it's going to take tomorrow to hit the ground running. When you know your results tomorrow, as previously been mentioned by myself and other talkers this afternoon, contact the universities by phone or through the live chat. At Portsmouth, we do have myself and my colleagues with our headsets on, taking your calls, answering any questions that you have, queries, and academics are on standby as well. Well, some of us are on the university campus, some are doing it from home. There's a whole mixture, but there's live conversations taking place, but also the live chat as well, where they are human beings, not robots, not computers, so you can have that interaction. And like Andy says, different universities are offering different opportunities to contact us. If you can, work out from your grades tomorrow morning, when you actually get your real life grades, work out that your UCAS tariff points. But equally, if you forget to do that or don't have time, again, don't worry, because our system at Portsmouth and other universities have a system, and we will have information in front of us to do that calculation of your grades and what UCAS points they give you. So don't worry too much about that. When you ring through and have that conversation or that online chat, whichever way you contact the university, you might not meet the entry requirements, even still in clearing. You might not meet those entry requirements there and then, but don't give up. Try again later, because for a variety of different reasons, the entry requirements can change throughout the day. So just because you didn't have the right entry requirements at 8:30 tomorrow morning, doesn't mean to say you don't have the right entry requirements by lunchtime, for example. Some courses, especially, this is just for Portsmouth particularly, especially for our healthcare courses, we will be offering students a telephone interview. It won't be there and then when you ring through first thing in the morning, but we'll maybe plan it with you for later on that day, or on Friday or Saturday, or another time next week. So we'll be in contact with you. So just to give you a heads up on that. Apologies if, by the way, if you can hear some roadworks out of my windows. So apologies if that's been picked up on my microphone here. Do keep an eye on your email. Any provisional offers will be coming through, yes, verbally, like Ruth said, but also on email as well. So do keep an eye on that. Don't just say, well, I've had this conversation with somebody on the phone and they've made me a verbal offer. You might still need to accept it and confirm it through an email. So don't take your foot off the gas and go and lie in the sunshine. Keep an eye on your emails and keep your wits about you, so that you can respond accordingly and follow instructions that the university might be giving you. And once you've added your offer to your UCAS track, that will show that you've accepted your offer. So that's been the top tips so far, and information so far has been a bit about processes and procedures and what you need to consider. Further tips are dealing with stress, because tomorrow doesn't have to be stressful, but it is an anxious time. You might be quite nervous today even. You might have some knots in your stomach. I went through clearing and I was in floods of tears and very, very stressed because I'd completely flunked my my A-levels. It's a long time ago now as well, but I remember it very well because it was quite a stressful day at the time. And I was lucky enough in my school to have a careers advisor and a teacher who sat with me and helped me and got me to ring round and make contact with the universities. And I got a place, luckily, through clearing, and I haven't looked back. So it will work out. That's a top tip for you. It will work out. But dealing with stress, I'm not going to haven't got time to go through every single point on this slide. So you might want to take maybe a photograph of this slide, perhaps. But key things to think about with dealing with stress is, first of all, that you're not alone. There are thousands and thousands of students that will be going through exactly the same procedures as you tomorrow. They will be going through clearing as well. So first of all, remember that you're not alone. Another top tip I just want to pick out on this slide here is be prepared. I've given you some top tips. You've got the information from my colleagues today, with Donovan coming up next as well. So you've got all this information about the procedures and whatnot, and getting prepared. So, you know, get yourself organized and be prepared, and stay calm, but also ask for help. Maybe in your homes, you have a member of the family just on standby to kind of share your thoughts with, or your worries, or you want to double check something, or maybe on the end of the telephone. That's great. Either way, if you have somebody that you can just speak to bounce any thoughts off, then that would be really useful, just to have that reassurance and guidance as well. Get a good night's sleep, like I mentioned, and get yourself in some food and prepare yourself with your refreshments, and stay hydrated, especially as it's so warm at the moment. It is a bit stressful. That makes you more flustered and hot and bothered, so do keep well hydrated. And the final point, 2 points, is stay positive, but also on these top tips, stay positive, but also stay off social media. You don't want to be seeing, you know, you're pleased for your friends, but you don't want to be seeing that they've got everything sorted and that they have been offered a place and they're off to University X. That's great. Talk that through with them later on tomorrow evening, but stay off social media perhaps for now. When you have a place, the final few slides now, you need to let Student Finance know. Whether you've applied or not through Student Finance, you need to get that ball rolling so that ready for September, October, you've got that in place. Sort out the accommodation. The university that offers you a place on their course through clearing should contact you about accommodation anyway, but if not, be proactive, contact the university again and say, look, I've been offered this place on this course. Can you tell me about living arrangements? Where can I get my halls of residence? But again, keep an eye on your emails, because the university will probably contact you to say, this is what you need to do with regards to your accommodation. And the final point here is celebrate. Obviously, you know, once you've got that place, you've got that reassurance, you've got the financing in process and the accommodation in process, of course, you can take a breather. Oh, enjoy the sunshine and celebrate and put your feet up maybe once that's all sorted. And that might take a few days, but obviously enjoy the celebration. So the final points just from Portsmouth. And again, I know I'm conscious of running out of time. Megan's come back on the screen, so I'm probably close to my 10-minute slot. But just a little thing about Portsmouth, that's our contact number. You can request a call back now. You can go onto our website, maybe take a picture of this slide, because you can go onto our website and request that call back. And myself and my colleagues will call you back tomorrow to discuss your options. And then you can follow us through social media as well, if you did want to have a look at social media and ask any questions through there. But if you are considering Portsmouth, you can drop us a personal email to the RAO, that's Recruitment and Outreach account, but also have a look at the video on YouTube and the Portsmouth website for why Portsmouth, why consider the University of Portsmouth. And that is all from me. Back over to Megan. Thanks for listening and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Ruth. With the information that Ruth has put on that slide, if you did register for the Zoom session, you will receive an email just after this webinar as well, which will have all of that information on, so you can easily click through and explore any of our panelists today. Okay, next up we have Donovan from University of Roehampton, who is going to be talking to you about how to apply through clearing if you don't already have a place. So perhaps you didn't think about going to university this year and now you really want to, or you're waiting for your results to apply. Donovan will be talking you through how you can do that.
Hi everyone, I'm just going to hopefully share my screen very quickly with some slides before we get going, and let's see if this will. Fantastic. Okay, so yes, as Megan mentioned, my name is Donovan. I'm from the University of Roehampton. I work in the schools and colleges outreach team, so doing stuff like this throughout the year, albeit virtually now for a while, but hopefully in the schools and colleges around London and the Southeast most days of the week. A little bit about me, I studied education studies and some of the teaching qualifications at Roehampton, so I also was a student there, so if there's any specific Roehampton questions, I can hopefully help with those as well. But in terms of clearing, if you don't already have a place, it can potentially seem quite daunting because you think that those are already in the UCAS system, they already have all the information, they're going to get the updates on UCAS track, they're going to get all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes it can seem a little bit sort of daunting to be the person that's thinking, actually, I've not joined that process yet. I was waiting for this, or I didn't think about going to university until now. And all of a sudden I'm now thinking I do want to go, maybe because of the current situation, or just general changes in your life, and that you might change what you wanted to do and what was available to you. So I think the first thing that's important is to remember is that at some point, if you want to go through the clearing process, you will need to complete your UCAS profile. So it's really important. You can start that today. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. You can just go in, you're going to need to fill in your personal details, all of that sort of stuff, so that universities that you're interacting with through clearing can actually contact you. It's the right contact details. All of those sort of records that they're going to be reaching out to you with are going to be accurate. What will happen, as has kind of been mentioned already, is that you're going to join the cycle basically straight into the clearing sort of part of the cycle. So you're not going to be putting in your 5 options. You're not going to be applying and waiting for your sort of offers to come back as people might have done before the earlier deadline. You're actually going to be sort of effectively putting in your application without any options in it almost. So then you join straight into the clearing cycle to be able to use that process. What it allows you to do by doing this profile sort of as soon as you can, whether that's today, tomorrow morning, whenever it is, once you've got your results, it actually means you can search through like the clearing options that are available, all of the universities that have registered their clearing options with UCAS. So you can search by your course you're interested in, or you can search by the university that you're interested in. So it depends on, but being able to do that, having not already put yourself through the UCAS process earlier in the year, is actually a really beneficial tool sometimes, so that you're not having to sort of maybe do as much of the legwork as you think you might need to tomorrow. So you can use UCAS to do a lot of the sort of filtering and searching for you. And then obviously the step will be, as for those that used the cycle earlier, you just basically call or contact the universities, however it is that they're arranging to do it, but make sure that you kind of have your personal ID details ready. If you have registered your profile with UCAS, make sure you've got your details accurate, as I say, because it's really important they're emailing emails to the right place. And actually understand where you're looking for information. So sometimes the UCAS system isn't laid out and labeled as clearly as it can be. So what could be a nice thing, as I say, is to log in today, start that profile thing this evening, maybe even tomorrow morning if you're sort of giving it some time, but make sure you can do it as soon as possible. So you've got some time to familiarize yourself with the platform before you're sort of jumping on it at 8 o'clock in the morning and hopefully trying to sort some things out tomorrow after you've got sort of results and updates from universities. So I think that's a really important part of this. If you've not joined UCAS before you've got your results, or not joined it in time to apply with the 5 options, just understanding UCAS itself is actually a really big part of getting the most out of it for you. And again, as people have mentioned, you kind of can collect offers from universities throughout the clearing cycle during the morning through lunchtime, but you can't actually accept one of your offers and as your clearing option until the 3 p.m. deadline passes. So after 3 p.m, you can go in and think, okay, right, I've got 4 or 5 options from different places. Which one am I going to put into my UCAS as my sort of clearing option that I would like? So that's exactly the same for those that have gone through without having applied earlier in the cycle as to those that did earlier in the cycle and have gone into the clearing stage there. It's already been kind of hinted at, but what's really important is to also potentially for some universities, there's the option to sort of do a direct application. It might sometimes be called like a record of prior acceptance option. Make sure you're sort of asking universities what it means, confirming exactly what it means. But effectively, it's a direct application option where sometimes you might not need to do the UCAS registration. You can apply straight to university if you know exactly which university you want to contact, which course you want, and the fact that it's already in clearing and you've done that sort of research already. As I say, this means you wouldn't get the sort of ability to search all of the UCAS information on courses that are available in clearing, and you would sort of go to each university themselves. But if you've got maybe one university that you're really interested in, you know that they offer this, it will be worth contacting them in the way that they're doing tomorrow, because it might mean that you can do a direct application. But what is really, really key is understanding each university's system and processes, because some universities will do direct applications, some won't, some might do it for only certain courses. So it's really important. So sometimes if there is particularly one institution that you're interested in, maybe doing a bit of research on their website before tomorrow and finding out actually, do they accept direct applications or is it through the clearing page as well? And also, don't be afraid to ask universities. The people that are there, whether it's through the live chat or through the phone calls, they're there to basically give you the best option for you because they want you to help you be able to study at their university. So if they're able to, make sure you ask them the question, is it through UCAS clearing? Is it through direct applications? I've got my clearing number, I don't have a clearing number. Whatever situation you're in, don't be afraid to ask them the questions. And then I think the last bit about sort of the general bit about those that haven't had applications through UCAS already, it's really important that you're aware of your next steps. And this is relevant to everybody, but particularly those that haven't put their options in and ended up in UCAS clearing. So those that sort of are doing it, it's really important before you end your communication or your call or whatever it is, that you fully understand what you need to do next. So if you're doing your UCAS clearing application, are the universities looking for your personal statement and your school and college reference through the UCAS system to be updated before they are able to confirm your offer? Make sure to ask these questions throughout the process when you're talking to them. And then if they do use a direct application form, what does that include? Sometimes it's very similar to the UCAS application form where it will have sort of, they want bits from your college or something like that. Sometimes it won't. So sometimes it will be just, these are the courses I'm interested in, these are my grades, and you upload some evidence of your qualifications. So make sure to confirm how that happens and sort of what information they're looking for. And some courses, some universities, some courses that are the same at different universities might ask you to do an interview that's already been mentioned. So make sure you know that before you sort of put down the phone or end the live chat. And also some might ask for sort of portfolio of work. So for example, our dance program at Roehampton, we ask for effectively to send in a video of a piece of dance footage that you've got of yourself. Even through clearing, that's still part of the process. So make sure you ask those questions as well before you hand off the call or the communication and wait for your email with the offer that's going to be coming through. And then a really key thing is basically keep some time free before 3 p.m. It's really great to book things in with friends and celebrate. those that have achieved what they wanted to, and those that go through clearing and busy working hard trying to find places. But it's nice to have that time free to think, actually, I'm not having to make a decision at 5 minutes past 8 in the morning. I can ring up from 8 till 3, ring lots of universities, see what the options are, see what courses are available, because universities might end up offering you alternative ones or similar courses. So trying to make that balancing act of which one is actually the best for me and which one do I want to consider the most. So do try and keep some time free before you sort of are able to make that decision. And I know it says 3 p.m. there, but that's the earliest you can make that decision. You don't have to make the decision at 3 p.m. You can do it at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., Friday morning, whenever it is that you're sort of thinking about making that. 3 p.m. is the earliest that you can do it at. It doesn't have to be exactly at 3 p.m. So if you're sort of busy during the morning and you're checking emails in the afternoon for your results and you think, I've not had time to call universities before 3 p.m, then don't worry, universities lines or live chats and things will still be open at 3 p.m. You could still receive offers, and you can make that decision sort of later into the day or the following days. And then a very short bit about sort of just about Roehampton and also about our clearing options that we've kind of hinted towards with other universities. So there's just a picture of our campus, but one of the sort of nice unique things I feel for Roehampton is that we have sort of a college system as part of our university. So the university split up into 4 separate sections. It's like houses basically when you're at school, but it gives you a slight more community feel when you're there. You don't feel sort of a small number in a large pool. It's quite nice to have sort of a smaller community that you're also part of as well in terms of events, accommodation, anything like that in terms of support as well whilst you're at university. There is a sort of general list of our 10 academic departments that you can be looking at through clearing. It will be all of them have at least some courses at the moment that will be going into clearing, but as mentioned, those, so particularly things like nursing and things like that, might sort of eventually fill up through the clearing process quicker than others. So it is worth giving people a call when you can on results day. And then the last thing that I'm going to mention is some of the ways you can get in touch with us regarding clearing. So the obvious one at the moment we've mentioned quite a lot is that you can call us directly. You can chat to one of our clearing advisors. We've got a mixture of students and staff, so some on campus, some not on campus. So depending who you get through to, there'll be lots of chances to offer different answers, different questions. So make sure you can do that. And then there's also, as has been highlighted by other universities as well, there's a chance to fill in an online form, so a self-referral form with your grades that you've already got, and then fill in a callback request form. So you can log on today and say, actually, I would like you to give me a call back tomorrow, and then one of us can do that, and you won't be sort of chasing us around and thinking, actually, I need to find that number again. We can give you a call tomorrow and save some of that hassle. For those particularly that I'm mentioning in this presentation, for those that know they haven't applied for UCAS already, that can be quite a nice option because you know that I'm definitely going to need to talk to some universities, so I might as well get some of those calls coming towards me. And then the very last thing I'm going to mention is for those that either get a place through clearing or sort of are still interested in clearing at the moment, we have one of our virtual open days coming up on Saturday, so you'll be able to sort of chat to academics if you've got an offer and you're still deciding on that offer, or if you're actually thinking, I'm not sure what I want to do yet, I want to maybe chat to Roehampton after results day and see if there's any spaces, then there is the option on Saturday to have a chat to us online as well for our virtual open day. So yeah, that's it from me in terms of for those that are don't have a place yet already and are looking to apply for UCAS or through direct applications. But I'll be here to answer some questions through the Q&A and also through the live chat at the end. So yeah, I'll hand back to Megan for the final presenter.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Donovan. And last up today, we're going to be talking to Elliot from the University of Leicester. We've had a lot of different questions through on the Q&A about adjustment and about deferrals and things like that. So Elliot is here to answer all of the questions that you have about that and hopefully put some of your minds at ease. Thank you, Elliot.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to try and again share my screen like everyone else, and hopefully it works. So give me 1 second. Should hopefully be here. So hi everyone, my name's Elliot. I'm the head of UK student recruitment and outreach at the University of Leicester. So as Megan said, I'm going to talk a little bit about adjustment and deferrals. The first thing I also wanted to say is just to kind of echo what my colleagues have been saying across the whole presentation, is that we are all here as universities to support over the next few days, but particularly the next 24, 48 hours. We know things are ever changing. Thanks very much, government. So we're keeping our kind of fingers on the pulses, really. So if you've got any questions or queries, please do not hesitate to get in touch with the universities. That's kind of what we are here for, and we've got trained teams of people to support with that. So in terms of my bit around adjustment and deferrals, we're going to cover kind of 5 areas. The first one is a bit of an overview about the university. So who are we? And I've got a short video, which fingers crossed the tech will support. So we'll see. And then I'll cover what is adjustment. I realize there've been quite a few questions on the Q&A about what's different between clearing and adjustment. So I'll cover in a nutshell what adjustment is. And then also some examples where you can hopefully see where adjustment would and wouldn't apply. Because we sometimes get throughout the cycle applications where students think they're eligible for adjustment, but actually they've missed a specific bit. So we'll make sure that's covered. And again, what are deferrals? So what does it actually mean in practice? And then also, how do you defer? As that really does differ from university to university, but I'll try and cover kind of in a nutshell what that looks like. So from me, in terms of who are the University of Leicester, so a fun fact is that we're the only university in the world that's a living memorial to the First World War. So that building you can see in the picture there is our Fielding Johnson building, and that actually served as a field hospital in the First World War. And the university was founded as a memorial to those that either lost their lives or were severely injured in the First World War. And yeah, that's got a nice thing. We're turning 100 next year, so it's happy days here. We're very strong in research. We've been doing a lot of work to lead a lot of the research within the response to COVID-19, particularly around surgical masks. As I expect across other colleagues as well, we have a blended learning offer. We've given a fancy name called Ignite for 2020, which is essentially a mixture of on-campus and online learning. But with that, a really flexible accommodation package for students where we have the yearly contracts as normal, but also as kind of frequently as daily as well. So between yearly, monthly, weekly and daily. And again, like others, we've got our clearing details there, but I believe you get those as part of the email as well. So I won't cover those in too much detail. And now's the techie bit. So hopefully this video will work. It's about a minute of content. Just in terms of how the university's responded to the current circumstances we're in.
As the coronavirus outbreak continues,
two very hospitals struggling to cope. They're running out of key equipment, as you heard from that China. I am just on a video call with these two lovely people.
So hopefully that's given a bit of an overview as to kind of how we've responded. It's a nice little video talking about the university, but also I guess one of the things I wanted to really reaffirm from all of us at universities across the UK is how proud you should all be as students in year 13. It's been a really challenging year. It's been a very different year, one to definitely tell the grandkids about, but we are really proud of how you've coped with everything. And I'm sure I can speak for colleagues across different universities there as well. So going on to adjustment and why I'm here rather than just talking about videos. So in terms of adjustment, it's something that a lot of students aren't hugely aware of, but actually one of the things that you can make use of throughout the next few days. And I just wanted to cover kind of what it actually means in practice and how you can use it. So in a nutshell, adjustment is a service for students who have met and exceeded their conditional offer. And the exceeded bit is really key there. So if you meet your conditional offer, you aren't eligible for adjustment, but if there is if you do exceed what they are, and I'll show you some examples on the next slide, you are then eligible for adjustment. If in the main application cycle you received an unconditional offer and that is your firm choice, then you aren't eligible for adjustment because there weren't any conditions to exceed in your initial offer. So it is only for students that have received a conditional firm offer and then have gone on to meet and exceed those conditions. So that's kind of what's different between clearing and adjustment. But in terms of what's the same, you still do need to speak to universities about an adjustment offer. There's still no getting around that. You still need to either call the university or use City University's fancy online form to see if they do have availability in courses for adjustment. So there isn't a definitive list. I think I saw a few questions on the Q&A earlier about, is there a list like there is of clearing vacancies for adjustment? And the answer is there isn't. So it is really a case of speaking to universities on a one-by-one basis to see if they have places. Obviously, if you have met and exceeded your conditional offer, you're likely to have obviously stronger grades than you expected and that maybe universities expected. So it does allow you to think about changing university to a university that may have had higher entry requirements in the initial cycle that you didn't think about. I guess the main bit of advice with an advisory hat on is do make sure that still is the right choice for you. So don't just think just because you've exceeded your offer, you automatically need to change university. You've obviously done a lot of research. You've been to presumably quite a lot of virtual events over the last few months at universities, and you spend a lot of time doing that research. So only change through adjustment if it's the right decision for you. The way you do this is you register via UCAS Track. So again, if you when you log into your UCAS Track, there would be a register for adjustment button that you click. And once you click that, you have 5 days to use the adjustment facility. The difference one of the other differences between clearing and adjustment is that with clearing, you would need, if you are holding an offer, you would need to decline that place to then add somewhere else in clearing. Whereas adjustment, you still hold on to that offer. That still remains live, but you can also still register for adjustment and add and be accepted into adjustment at a different university. So it's kind of that safer option of still having that offer in one hand while shopping around with your other hand. An adjustment as a service is available until the 1st of September. So on UCAS, after the 1st of September, adjustment will no longer be an option. That's a set date in the diary. That as far as we know, obviously a lot of things are changing a lot, but as far as we know, that won't change this year. So hopefully that's cleared kind of what is adjustment. And to show you what that looks like in terms of examples, if I can find my cursor. As you can see here, this is lifted straight off the UCAS website. Thanks very much, UCAS. There are 3 examples from three different qualifications as to what would count towards an adjustment offer and what wouldn't result in adjustment. So as you can see with the top one with the A levels, if your conditions were 3 Bs, meeting and exceeding your offer, if you achieved then ABB, that counts as meeting and exceeding your offer. And as you'll see there, kind of either equivalence or even extension. So 4 Bs doesn't count as exceeding 3 Bs because the university's offer was 3 Bs. So you haven't got more than that in 3 of those grades. If you've done other qualifications, obviously there's a couple there as well regarding tariff points. But if you've done other qualifications such as the IB or BTEC, the same principle applies. You do have to have exceeded that offer. There is also, if you have been made an offer, a conditional offer that includes a subject-specific condition. For example, you might have got a maths offer at ABB with an A in maths. You would need to exceed that condition in maths. So you'd need to have got an A star in maths to be eligible for adjustment. Just getting AAB with a different A, but still only getting an A, that's still really, obviously a very good score, a very good grade, but you haven't exceeded that condition. Hopefully that clarifies what does register for adjustment and what does classify as what is eligible for adjustment. But again, if you've got any queries or questions, again, universities are always happy to help on their clearing lines. It's usually the same clearing line you would use for adjustment in terms of phone line. I haven't seen many universities have a specific adjustment line, if any. So it's usually the same line, and they'll go through that in detail with you on the day as well. So that's adjustment, and there's obviously lots of UCAS information as well on their website. If you just Google UCAS adjustment, there's a handy little video that you might want to look at over the next 12 hours or so, yeah, there's lots of information there. So moving on to deferrals, so again, I thought I'd explain a little bit about what they are. So again, deferral in a nutshell is starting university in the following year to your application. So if you applied in the main application cycle this year, or even in the clearing cycle this year, it's just that you'll be starting in September 2021. At this stage of the cycle, where we are now with less than 24 hours to go until results day, if you wish to defer your place, there's a lot of advice I'm going to talk about at the end of this slide, but if you do wish to defer your place, you would probably need to contact that university directly. For us at Leicester, it's via our admissions team. I think probably via colleagues, if I can get a few nods, it's probably the same-ish team at other universities as well. And it's usually via email. And we usually say, put in the title, subject title of the email, deferral of place, just so it's very obvious what you're looking for. You do need to bear in mind that some subjects may not allow deferrals for a variety of reasons. I know some medicine degrees at institutions sometimes really don't like deferral applications, so they may decline your request. It's not an automatic guarantee. Some subjects may do it and some subjects won't. So it's worth, if you are considering a deferral, just getting in touch with that university to see if they would allow that. And they might ask you to provide reasons for that. And obviously it's down to that individual university to determine what they are. So it will differ. There isn't a standard process for deferral like there is for making a clearing application, if you like. So it's worth getting in touch directly with the university. There are a few questions earlier as well on the Q&A around deferring clearing places. And again, this will differ from university to university. Some may only provide clearing offers providing you start in 2020. Some may allow you to defer a clearing choice. They'll be able to go through that on their phones or live chat services tomorrow. And there was also questions around student finance, around defer and what happens with that. If you deferred your place and to start in 2021, you'd make the student finance application in 2021. You wouldn't defer your student finance application. That second to last point, so no guarantee your request will be accepted. I kind of covered that a minute ago, but it is worth really reinforcing that. And don't think just because you would like to defer that will automatically be accepted. There might be something you need to do to get that approved. And the final thing in terms of the advice we'd provide, in any normal year, obviously there's lots of opportunities to do traveling the world and et cetera, et cetera. I imagine slightly more restricted this year. So do think carefully about completing the deferral process. If it's something you're doing, have a really careful think about what you are going to be doing with your time if you are wishing to defer your place. It's not to say you shouldn't. There's lots of valid reasons for doing so, but just have a think carefully before completing that. It's sometimes hard once you have deferred your place to undefer your place. So think carefully before taking that. Again, like any university choice, make sure you've got all the information to hand and make an informed decision before doing so. Again, just a few details. You'll get a lot of these as part of the email, but again, as with everyone, we've got our own clearing site. As with everyone bar city, we've got our own phone number. We've got the Facebook account you can chat to us on, virtual tours. If you are accepting a place at Leicester, please do tag us on Insta and Twitter. We'd like to see particular fans of sharing your celebrations with pets if you have pets. So do that and use the hashtag #OursToChange. And that's about it from me. So I'll hand over again back to Megan. I think we're going to facilitate some Q&As.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Elliot. We've had a lot of questions come through on the Zoom, and lots of them have already been answered. Over 100 questions. Our panelists have kindly sent answers directly back to you. We've also received probably around 20 questions through on the YouTube, so keep sending them through. We're probably going to do around 3 per panelist, so they'll be able to give you a more detailed answer to some of the questions that have come through today. And we're going to go in order, so we will start with Ruth from Winchester and then work our way down the list again. Okay, so Ruth, if I have a conditional offer through Extra in one university, will I be eligible for adjustment or clearing?
So if you've got your offer, and even if you've gained that in Extra, it will depend perhaps slightly on what your results look like tomorrow. So you're still able to decline that offer if you decide you don't want it. You can still go into clearing as every other student would. It just means that you're currently perhaps only holding one offer from that university. So yeah, it's still possible.
Perfect, thank you. And the next up a question for Andy. How do I update or secure my student finance after applying through clearing?
So the best thing to do, it's a really good question, is to get in touch with student finance as soon as you've got everything confirmed. So what I would do is get that verbal offer or a written offer via email from the university you're interested in, and get that confirmed in your UCAS track account. And when you're 100% sure, then get in touch with student finance to change that over. It might be easy to do by logging in yourself, or it might be that you might want to speak to someone to get that done for you as well.
Perfect, thank you, Andy. Next up, a question for Ruth from Portsmouth. If I want to appeal my grades, can I still apply through clearing? Is that something that you recommend?
If you want to appeal your grades, can you still apply to clearing? Yes, because you've got your grades of sort tomorrow. Yes, they may change if you appeal them, but you want to get yourself in the system and give yourself the best opportunity as possible. Like has been mentioned, I think by Donovan, you have at 3 o'clock to make a decision, but it doesn't have to be done at 3 o'clock. So normally universities, I think at Portsmouth, it certainly was last year, you have 24 hours. I think that's about right. Yeah, Donovan's nodding. Great, thank you, Andy. So yes, still apply through clearing, even if you are appealing. Still apply through clearing just to keep your options open.
Perfect, thank you, Ruth. Next up, a question for Donovan. If I get verbal confirmation for a clearing course, do I need to add this to track myself when it opens, or will the university do that? And how will I know when it's properly been confirmed?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, because I think getting that final confirmation that everything's sorted is a really important point to be at. So in terms of getting your place confirmed, what will happen is, as I say, you'll get an offer over the phone, whether it's through the live chat, and then normally a follow-up email. That is effectively a provisional offer. So what you'll need to do normally is basically confirm, normally prove, send in pictures or whatever it is of your qualifications, or confirm it through UCAS if you're going that way. And then if that's all sorted and the offer is confirmed, then you're able to sort of go in at 3 p.m. or after 3 p.m. and add it on your side on UCAS to say, this is the option I would like through clearing. And then once you've done that, the university will be able to confirm that that is your choice, and you'll see that updated in your UCAS track when you log in. So that's when you'll see it. Basically, you putting it in as your option is your side being done, but then you're still waiting on the university sort of confirming that into your UCAS track. But it's normally done very quickly for you because there's lots of university staff in during the clearing process. So yeah, keep checking the UCAS track even when you've put your sort of your acceptance of your one choice in after the 3 p.m. time.
Perfect, thank you, Donovan. A question for Elliot. Can I go through adjustment with a university which previously declined me in the initial stages?
Oh, good question. It'll probably depend on the course and the university. I know for with a Leicester hat on, we would normally not allow students to apply for a place that they've previously been rejected for. But that's not to say that's the case for everyone. So it's probably a good idea to bring that university up and see if that is possible. Obviously, with adjustment, you will have met and exceeded your grade, so the likelihood is probably higher. But there will be universities, and we are one that if it's the original course you applied for and you were rejected, then we wouldn't make an offer. If you declined that place, if we offered you the place and you just didn't take it up, we would still you would still be able to apply for an adjustment offer at that on that course.
That's great, thank you, Elliot. Next up, a question for Ruth from Winchester. Can I completely change my course? So say if I applied to maths originally, but I've now decided that I want to do medicine, what's kind of involved in that? Would I need to take different exams and things?
Yeah, so it will depend on how diverse your change is. So if you are changing from maybe a humanities course to another humanities course, the entry is very similar. You might not need to interview. Universities will sometimes be more flexible, certainly perhaps where you've studied the subject at A-level, or you can evidence in your BTEC course that you have some understanding of that subject. The university is going to be confident that you're making a good decision and you know what that's going to look like. If you've suddenly decided you want to apply for medicine, having not maybe done any work experience, maybe not done some of the admissions tests, then you're looking at probably having to apply for the next year's entry, 2021, because you're not necessarily going to have everything lined up that the university needs. That's not to say you can't try and submit applications for those sorts of courses, but what I think you might find is, I know for us, we have students who might apply. There's a few very small places for physio for clearing, but we are going to interview you. We're going to want to see what work experience you've got. So if you've changed your mind and you've not done some of those other things, you're not suddenly going to have time before the places appear in clearing and go tomorrow to have got all those things in place. So it may be for some courses you have to wait for next year. For others, where you're making a transition to a subject that you know something about or have an understanding, then it might be easier to make that change this year. So contact the universities to see.
Perfect, thank you, Ruth. Next up, a question for Andy. Can I get more than one verbal offer or offer through over a chat function? And what happens then?
Absolutely, and this is a really good way of doing it. One of the reasons that UCAS allow you not to submit before 3 p.m. Is to give you the time to go and work out what's best for you. In theory, you can call up as many universities as you like and speak to as many of us as you want to and get as many offers as you want to. It's then totally up to you which one you want to take forward. If you're absolutely dead set on what you want to do and where you want to go, then hopefully you've only got one to worry about. If you're looking at lots of different options, go and speak to all of them. And remember, I think as Donovan put it really nicely, it's from 3 p.m. that afternoon, but you have got more time. So keep that time in mind, but you've got a bit longer as well. So look at as many options as you want, and then you can pick the one that works best for you when you know what those outcomes are going to be.
Perfect, thank you, Andy. Next up, a question for Ruth from Portsmouth. If I no longer want to go to my firm choice, do I have to call them up to decline, or can I do it online?
Do it online, I think. You can just go into Track and you can decline that particular offer, and then that opens you up to other offers. So fairly straightforward through your UCAS Track.
That's great, thank you. No awkward conversations over the phone if you want to do that one. One for Donovan. Do I need to register in advance for clearing? Is there anything that I need to do today, maybe?
So I think it's really important if you've already made your UCAS application through the main cycle, you've already put in your 5 choices and you got those replies back, then you'll be automatically sort of put into the clearing option when those come back, if your results are sort of not what you were hoping for and not what the universities were looking for. When I was talking earlier though, for those that haven't put in their UCAS profile, they haven't applied through the main cycle, they basically were choosing to maybe wait for their results to then apply, or they had suddenly decided recently that university is a thing for them, then yes, I would definitely log in. Then you basically can put in your application straight into the clearing part of the cycle. That's when it becomes sort of, you put no options in, you go straight into the clearing cycle, whereas those already in it, you'll sort of see it come up in the morning that you've been allocated into the clearing part of the cycle.
Perfect, thank you, Donovan. A question for Elliot. How can I see which unis have adjustment places available? So we discussed a little bit earlier about knowing when there's clearing places. Is there a separate bit where I can check for adjustment?
So there isn't a definitive list. There isn't a kind of adjustment vacancies list either on UCAS or even on individual university web pages. So it really is a question of contacting those universities directly. As I mentioned in my talk, it's usually the same phone number as the clearing line, and usually as part of the kind of initial conversation that you have with the person answering the phone, they'll go through, are you holding an offer at another university? Have you met or exceeded your conditions? So we know what if you are looking for a place in clearing or you're potentially eligible for adjustment, because we do also chat to students that don't realise they're eligible for adjustment. So we kind of make you aware of that at the start of a call or the start of an email or live chat conversation if that's the case. So in answer to the question, no, there isn't a list, but if you look on university websites for vacancies, that essentially provides you your list.
Perfect, thank you, Elliot. And then we're going to do one more question for each of our panelists today. So we'll start with Ruth from Winchester. If I hesitate to choose a course and leave it till maybe 5 or 6, will I lose a provisional verbal offer, or do I need to submit that when the clearing confirmation opens at 3 p.m?
It's likely after everything we've said today that UCAS will probably crash at 3 p.m. tomorrow. So no, once you've got that offer and the universities have sent it to you via email, please check your junk, make sure it's in the right place, because invariably we get lots of people going, oh, you never sent me the confirmation, and it's gone in your junk. So to definitely check that it's not gone in your spam or wherever else it goes in your email. So yes, certainly when you get that, you've got time to think about it. So very often it might be sort of 24, 48 hours, and you've got time to have a look at things. I know universities with COVID have put loads of stuff online. So if it's a university you're not sure about or one you've not looked at before, you've got time to do the virtual tour, chat to a student, ring them back up again the next day if you've got thought of any questions. So there's certainly, that offer won't go anywhere once you've got it. You can just sit back and have a good think, chat to people at home, maybe chat to people at school or college, and then decide if that's the right place for you.
Perfect, thank you, Ruth. One for Andy. If I decide to resit my exams, whether that's this autumn or in summer, whichever ends up happening, can I ask to defer to my university, or will I need to reapply again later this year?
That's a really, really good question. So I think there's a few different ways of looking at it. It depends on the type of offer you've got. If it's based around a conditional offer, so a condition of you meeting certain grade requirements that you haven't met, but you think you can meet by resitting your exams, potentially you can transfer that conditional offer to next year. Again, it'll be an individual discussion with those universities that you want to apply to. If you've managed to receive an unconditional offer of want to defer it because you have met the grades, but you want to resit them because you want to see if you can achieve anything better, then that's up to you as well. If universities aren't up for doing deferrals, you can always apply next year in the main cycle with those grades, or with the predictions of the grades that you're then going to resit if you then resit the next summer. So it's a slightly complicated answer for that one, but there's lots of different ways around doing it. It's the first time for a lot of us that we're dealing with exams that are going to take place in the autumn and to confirm those grades. So again, we're all adjusting to that slightly and getting used to how it's going to work. So I think deferring is an option, but also going to that main cycle is another option for you as well.
Perfect, thank you, Andy. One for Ruth from Portsmouth. Say if I want to do a little bit of window shopping, if I want to have a look around clearing first, can I do that without declining any of my offers on track?
Yes, I believe so. There should be on the UCAS website, I think. Please, colleagues, can you give me a nod? The list of courses that are listed from all the universities around the UK that are in clearing, the ones that are available. But like I said, I think in my talk earlier, that will potentially change, because what might be full in the morning, if somebody else has declined that offer, that then makes a space available in the afternoon, perhaps. So it's still worth regularly checking that UCAS website to see the list of courses that are in clearing at different parts of the day tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and next week as well, because you never know. Is that right, guys? Nod. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you, Ruth. A question for Donovan. Does a university email you before track updates to tell you that if you've got your place, or do you have to wait for track to open, and what time does it open?
Yeah, great. So it's that track will update at 8 AM tomorrow. I will have the slight caveat of obviously trusting that the system will work at the exact moment that it is 8 AM. So do be aware that there might be a little bit of a wait if sort of everyone's trying to log in at the same time. It might be that you have to sort of give it a bit of time to catch up with itself. But that's technically the first time that you can see your status in terms of your university choices that you put in. So in terms of your firm, your insurance choice. But in terms of getting your results, then that will be sort of dependent on your school and college. They might have certain times, they might have certain ways they're doing it, whether it's email through your student portal. Some schools and colleges are doing collections, but in very sort of safe and secure ways that they're able to do it. So yeah, in terms of seeing universities contacting you, the first thing that you'll see is through UCAS Track, but the emails may follow very shortly after, because that's technically when universities can sort of confirm things with you. But it could be, minutes, or it could be sort of slightly after that. But definitely check UCAS Track, because that will confirm sort of where your status is currently in terms of whether it says congratulations and you've got your place, or whether it's mentioning clearing on that bit.
Perfect, thank you, Donovan. And our last question is for Elliot today. This might apply to quite a few people tomorrow. If you've decided you want to defer and your university won't defer your place, is it possible to look for other options through clearing and talk to them about a deferred entry?
Yes. So you can still do the kind of the same shopping around as we kind of discussed throughout the presentation. But again, if you're looking around for a deferred place in clearing, it will be the case that some universities might not offer those. They might want you to start in 2020. So do be prepared, if that is the case, to kind of be a bit flexible. And actually, again, going back to what I said when I was talking about deferred places, as have a real think, is deferring your place the best option, or is starting university this year? Obviously, it will be a bit different, but different is sometimes a really good thing. It will be a bit different, and go from there. So yes and no is probably the answer to the actual question. And this is where it does make it a bit of a challenge for students that universities, there isn't a standard process, and it's not done kind of via a UCAS process, for example. But so we'd say be proactive, get in touch with the universities and see what they say.
Perfect, thank you very much, Elliot. I think the lesson from today is just have a talk to universities. Everyone's doing a little bit differently this year, but I think that's something all of our panellists can definitely agree on. Just have a chat. If there's somewhere that you're interested in going, let them know why you're a perfect student for them and see what they can do for you. Okay, unfortunately that was our last question for today. Thank you very much to all of our panellists and to you for submitting all those questions. If you want to learn more about any of our panellists, then head to their websites. I will send you over the links a little bit later so you can have an explore, check out all of their clearing contact details and see if you can pre-register for a phone call like we talked about a little bit earlier. Today was the very last in our series of Results Day webinars, but don't worry, if you missed either Monday's or Tuesday's webinars, they're available on our YouTube channel, that's UK University Search, so you can catch up really easily before Results Day tomorrow. On Monday, we talked about calculated grades, going through those centre assessed grades produced by your teachers and how the exam boards have verified them. Something's probably changed since that webinar, but the sentiments that are involved in that webinar and all the support that our panellists were talking about will still be the same and will still apply, so you can check that one out. On Tuesday, we discussed Results Day itself. We covered how to plan, how to stay calm and positive, what to expect on the day, how to appeal your results if you feel the process was unfair, and we discussed how to go into clearing too. If you do decide to go through clearing tomorrow or adjustment, we have our free clearing directory available, which is www.universityfinder.org.uk. That has lots of details all in one place, so you can easily check which universities are doing hotlines and go over to their websites if they're doing chats or forms as well. That's all from us today. I'm sure you'd like to join me in saying a big thanks to all of our panellists for their advice. So we talked to Ruth Boyce from the University of Winchester, Andy from the City University of London, Ruth from the University of Portsmouth, Donovan from the University of Roehampton, and Elliot from the University of Leicester. I hope that you found this webinar useful, and from all of us, the panellists and us at UK University Search, we wish you the very best of luck with your results tomorrow, and thank you for watching.